Closing out the first chapter of the 1,000-Year Blood War. Hey everyone, welcome to Prince of the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War, episode 13. The final episode of this first core. So, just to reiterate, after this episode, we are taking a break. We will be coming back to 1,000-Year Blood War, but we're taking a break for now. And we're going to get to some other stuff. Now, I kind of mentioned this last week in this video I made, but this week we're going to be, this week we're going to be finishing up a few different shows. And because of that, next week we're going to be starting some new ones. But I've also decided to kind of upgrade our reaction schedule, so things are changing around a little bit. There's an update video I made last week if you want to see all the details on that. But the gist is that I am not going to be revealing what is replacing Bleach for starting next week on Mondays. Because like I said, the schedule is shifting around a little bit, but there are 5 new shows starting next week. And the only one that I'm revealing ahead of time is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Season 2 of that is returning next week. We're going to be getting to that. The other 4 shows that we're starting next week, I am not going to be revealing yet. I'm going to keep that as a secret, and they're going to be revealed as they are posted to the channel. I think it's just a fun little thing to do. But yeah, that starts up next week. So be prepared for that. But yeah, I'm excited to get to all of that starting next week, but for now we still have to finish up this week's stuff, which includes this episode. So we finally got the full backstory on Ichigo's parents, how they met, their entire situation, and even how Misaki died and why she died. It basically all just comes down to being Yuhabaha's fault. He's just, he's kind of behind everything at this point. And so now Ichigo, knowing all of this and having a full understanding of his past, is going to be able to go back to the Soul Society and probably reconvene with Sword God to get, like, in a way, true Zanpakuto this time. Whether it's like a new version of his old Zangetsu or something completely different, I don't know. But I'm definitely interested to see. But with this being the last episode of the core, I'm just wondering, is something else going to happen? I feel like something has to, right? Because if this is the last episode of the core, it's probably going to leave off on a cliffhanger. And we got to have something more than just Ichigo regaining his Zanpakuto. I mean, obviously that's going to be the big thing. But there's got to be something else, right? Maybe not. Maybe this will just end off on a very lighter note. Like a surprisingly light note. We'll see. But we're not going to waste any more time. We'll just get to this and hope for the best. So let's see what this episode has in store. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link down in the description below to go to today's reaction, I just wanted to take this moment real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. Every single day of the week, we have some awesome Let's Plays for you. A bunch of different things to check out, and more coming in the future. And don't forget to click that subscribe button or like the video if you really enjoy the content I'm putting out. There will be more to come in the future. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get this going. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I was kind of wrong. I was saying this would probably have to have like notably more and everything. And there was a little bit of like setup with like the different captains and lieutenants and whatnot, preparing for the future, getting ready, training and whatnot, which is, fair. But this was mostly just focused on Ichigo getting his new Zanpakuto, his true Zanpakuto, and closing off this core of the arc with him coming to truly realize what this all meant and what the point of like learning this backstory at this time was. So let's talk about, I guess, the one thing with the others that I really want to talk about here, and that's with Mayuri. He's the only like captain and whatnot I want to discuss in regards to all of the training and preparations. Because while the others are just like, training their skills and everything, learning Bankais, Mayuri's doing something mysterious, which no surprise here. He's locked himself into his lab, his office, for 24 hours now, and is doing some kind of experiment to the point where he's even shut off the cameras. Luckily, Akon put a hidden camera in there and is able to spy on him. And yeah, he's doing some kind of like really weird experiment. We don't know what the end goal of it is. Like I was saying in the reaction though, knowing Mayuri Kurasuchi, it's probably nothing good. Um, because Mayuri is like the most villain coded member of the Soul Society, if we're being completely honest here. Like he's honestly the one member of the Soul Society who I really, really at this point think should probably be imprisoned. Um, and don't get me wrong, multiple members of the Soul Society did a lot of wrong and everything in the Soul Society as a whole. But Mayuri's a psychopath who sees lives as, tools for his science and everything. And it was kind of brought up, I think, earlier in the season in the comments. I think it was Venom. I think you brought up that it's like, oh, but he's like the smartest there. He's the only one who could really do this. Um, and everything, considering Urahara's, not there and all. And it's like, yeah, but it's like there's no one else they could find that's like maybe not on his level, but close enough. Like I understand that he's valuable in terms of what he adds to the Soul Society, his scientific know-how and whatnot, but I feel like the danger he poses is kind of worse, right? Maybe that's just me. I don't know. I don't trust him. It wouldn't surprise me if he just became a bad guy himself at some point. Just completely. But yeah, the main thing in this episode was still with Ichigo. Um he is brought back to Sword God, and he learns that the Zangetsu he had all this time, he has to say goodbye to. He has to leave behind. Because the Zangetsu he had all this time was not actually Zangetsu. It was the manifestation of his Quincy powers taking the form of a younger Yuhabaha that was purposefully and intentionally limiting his abilities. Also, purposefully and intentionally mean the same thing. I don't know why I said both. But was intentionally limiting his abilities, because the Quincy side of him was in a way kind of rebelling against the idea of him becoming a soul reaper, and was even saying like, oh, I knew I'd have to kill you in the end. But he's like, but now I've kind of like come to terms with everything. I'm kind of glad to leave things in your hands. I'm not going to hold you back anymore. That kind of jazz. You get it. So it's really interesting too, because this means that the Zangetsu we knew was always his Quincy powers. The Hollow Ichigo was his Hollow powers, which he got from, basically the curse that was put on his mother and everything. He's never had a true Zanpakuto spirit. These are completely separate entities. And that makes me wonder, are we going to get a new spirit, or is it just going to be himself at this point? Because at the end here, he's like, he comes to the realization that Zangetsu is himself, that he is, that everything that Zangetsu is just part of him. And that he considers both Hollow Ichigo and the Quincy Yuhabaha spirit within him as both being Zangetsu as well. So he considers both of them to be a part of himself, to be a part of who he is and what makes him Ichigo. And we see at the end here, his Zanpakuto manifests as a dual-wielded Zanpakuto now. So that's notably different. We know he's going to be able to fight at his full unrestrained power now. I'm just thinking he's not going to have a notable Zanpakuto spirit anymore. I'm thinking it's just because he's accepted it as just part of who he is, he doesn't need that kind of thing anymore. He doesn't need, like, that spirit, like, helping him out in that way. He's just going to rely on himself. Because that was the entire thing at the end there. He's like, I'm not going to call on you for help anymore. I'm not going to ask for your assistance. I'm going to do this on my own because Zangetsu is me. It's like that's kind of the entire point. That's what he needed to come to realize. But it's interesting too, because we see like the Zanpakuto spirits for like other characters throughout this series, and it's like, so they haven't come to this point themselves. They haven't unlocked the full potential of their Zanpakuto, which is really interesting to think about. It kind of makes you wonder if that's going to happen to any of them. But we see it happening here with Ichigo, at least. Like, this is going to be like an insane power-up. Like, I almost feel like this kind of makes him, I want to say it probably at least doubly as strong as he was before. And he was already obviously very strong, having all of these powers that he's already had. But, yeah, this probably at least doubles his strength, possibly more than that. And now he's going to be much more ready to take on Yuhabaha and his forces. However, that is going to include Uryu. Which is absolutely no fucking surprise, because I fucking called that. Everything had been set up for that to happen. Uryu is going to join Yuhabaha, and I bet you fucking anything that it's a ruse. That he's infiltrating the Quincy, the Vandenreich. That he's not actually loyal to Yuhabaha, but is doing this to stop him. I bet you anything that that's the case. And you know he's not going to be able to tell Ichigo and them this, so they're not going to know. They're probably going to think he's betrayed them. We'll see how it goes with that. But that is the big cliffhanger this core ends on, with that reveal. And like I said, it's not a surprise at all. It's exactly what I expected. So I'm just curious as to exactly how it's going to be shown to affect the group dynamic and everything. I'm thinking that Orihime's probably like gonna not buy it or something. She seems like the kind who would just be like, who would just still trust him and trust that there's a reason for this. I don't know about Chad. I kind of have a hard time reading Chad sometimes. But Ichigo's gonna get pissed about it. It's Ichigo. He's gonna get pissed about it. I would be surprised if he actually like understood something was going on and that he was doing that for a reason. I would be very surprised. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, I'm very curious as to what's going to happen next, considering where this is leaving off, because we have more of the Squad Zero training portions to get through, right? Because this is Sword God's only the third person, right? So we have more of Squad Zero to go through, and on top of that, we also have to get back into the battles and everything. Probably a little bit more training and everything. There's, I feel, going to be a little bit of a start to the next core that's going to get us back into it before it gets like heavy again. But I mean, I might be wrong, because I mean, this first core got pretty intense pretty quickly. I guess we'll just have to see. But like I said in the pre-thoughts, we are going to be waiting on that. We are going to be taking a break, and next week the schedule is getting updated, changed, rearranged a little bit. So you'll have to see what is going to replace this in the Monday slot. And if you didn't see that video, just the only things that are really getting rearranged, I think, are Wednesday and Thursday. All the other slots are staying the same, but there's a couple days that are getting extra stuff added. Tuesday and Friday are going to both have 2 shows now, each. So there's going to be one series reaction plus the YouTube thing on Monday. Tuesday's going to have 2 series reactions. Wednesday's still going to have 2 series reactions. Thursday's still going to only have 1. Thursday's still going to only be 1, but Friday's going to also have 2 series reactions. So there's a bunch of new shows starting up next week. I'm not going to tell you ahead of time what they are. The only one that I am revealing ahead of time, once again, is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. But you'll have to wait and see exactly what else is coming for next week, including what is replacing Bleach for Mondays. And hopefully we'll get back to Bleach within a good amount of time. I obviously will not promise anything because it sometimes just doesn't work out that way, but hopefully it'll be a good amount of time. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on this episode, on Ichigo's realization, the reveal of Zangetsu actually being the Quincy side of Ichigo, but him still considering both of those halves of him as still being his Zangetsu. Let me know your thoughts on all of this and more down in the comments. And if there's anything that I didn't mention that you want to hear my thoughts on, feel free to ask about that as well. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.